Okay. You guys probably can't see me, but I'm here. We are live. Well, I'm live. Katrina, she is on vacation right now in Sturgis. She's enjoying herself. Chasing the buffalo. Going to see Youngblood. She's gonna have a great time. Oh, she is having a great time. God, sick baby, anyway, so today we are doing Paris Bennett. And if you guys don't know Paris Bennett, he was uh 13 years old when he did this in 2007. He murdered his 4-year-old sister, Ella, in Albany, Texas. He stabbed her 17 times. The motive for his murder was resentment toward his mother, Charity Bennett. He believed the most effective way to emotionally damage her was to take away one of her children. Well, two got taken away because he's going to be spending the rest of his life in prison. Paris pleaded guilty in juvenile court to capital murder and was given the maximum sentence of 40 years in prison with the possibility of parole after 20 years. Following the murder, Paris was evaluated and met criteria for a conduct disorder. The murder has gained extensive attention due to its circumstances as well as ages of both the perpetrator and the victim. He was only 13 years old. If he would have been, 18 years old or yeah, he probably would have got the death penalty. But Charity, the mother of Paris and Ella, was Kyle Clara Bennett's daughter. Kyle Bennett was charged with conspiring to murder her husband, and Charity's father, James Robert Bennett Jr., was controversially found not guilty. Charity believes her mother was actually guilty. Kyla later joked in a documentary about manipulation the jury. Manipulating the jury. During her childhood, Charity became addicted to drugs in an attempt to gain attention from her mother, but Kyla never showed any interest. So that's kind of interesting. Shortly before the murder, Charity had relapsed into drug addiction. This was believed to be Paris's breaking point, making him decide to murder Ella. However, Paris displayed warning signs of violence before the murder and since admitted to be feeling homicidal tendencies since he was a young child. On February 4th, 2007, Charity hired a babysitter. She had to work late at her job at the Buffalo Wild Wings restaurant because it was the late night of 2007 Super Bowl. It was probably really busy that night. Around 10 p.m., Paris manipulated the babysitter and convinced her to leave the house. Later that night, sometime before 11:30, Paris entered Ella's bedroom and stabbed her 17 times. Following the murder, he called a school friend, for about 6 minutes before deciding to call 911 at 11:42 p.m. And Paris appeared to fake insanity, telling the dispatch he thought Ella was a demon and stabbed her. This dispatcher instructed Paris to perform CPR. He pretended he was counting along with the dispatcher as he paced around the room. Paris was later arrested sometime before 12:30 a.m. Now, there's documentaries on this, and there's also Piers Morgan. He actually did an interview with Piers Morgan, and Piers Morgan played the 911, and you can hear him counting along like he's doing it, but he actually wasn't doing it. And when you watch him, when they're asking him all these questions, he was showing no remorse, no nothing. He just had a plain look on his face, no emotion at all. They've also asked him, well, you talk about maybe one day having a family. What if somebody did that to your daughter? And he just nothing. They got really no reaction out of him. You'd have to watch the documentaries, and the one with Piers Morgan. is absolutely, it's really interesting. The mother was listening in, and she still supports him and still talks to him, even though they have asked her to. The best thing for her would be to cut all contact and not let him know where she's at, but she still talks to him. She still supports him. Um, Following his arrest, Paris was charged with capital murder of Ella. Paris was not charged as an adult, since the age of a juvenile can be tried as an adult in Texas is 14. He was instead charged in juvenile court and pled guilty to capital murder. He was sentenced to 40 years in prison with the possibility of parole after 20 years, which is the maximum sentence for a defendant convicted of capital murder in juvenile court in Texas. When he was 19, Paris was transferred to an adult prison. During proceedings, though, further assessment using standardized measures documented significant psychotic traits. He said he's had homicidal ideation since he was a child. Paris will be eligible for parole in 2027 of February, which is next year. If he is never granted parole, he will be released in February 2047 when he is 53 years of age. So from what I'm understanding, he can go for parole after 20 years, which will be in 2027. But if they tell him no, then he'll be eligible to be released in 2047, which is kind of scary. 53 years old. Charity initially maintained contact with Paris after the murder, which Paris said astounded him. Cindy has been told that she and her new son are at risk once Paris is released, which she accepts. She acknowledged that she will most likely need to move to a new location once Paris is released. Experts have said that she is unlikely that Paris could ever be rehabilitated. If you ever watch the thing with Piers Morgan and some of the documentaries on him, you'll understand, because when they talk to him, it's just a plain look on his face. He shows no emotion when they talk about, I hurt his mom and all, nothing. In 2017, a documentary titled "The Family I Had" was released about the case, and it focused on Charity's life of being the daughter of a murder suspect, Kyla, and the mother of both a murderer, Paris, and murder victim, Ella. Yeah. So that's Investigation Discovery, The Child I Thought I Knew. That's another one that you can watch. And Evil Lives Here, My Child a Killer. That's like a newer series that just came out too. My Child a Killer. This has actually gained a lot of attention now because he's coming up pretty soon for parole. Like I said, she said she accepted it's okay. And I don't know. She says documentary titled "The Family I Had." And that was a documentary. So right now she's having contact with. She has a new son, so we don't. It's hard to say. According to her, she's probably going to have to leave because you don't know if he's going to kill that, her other kid now. In 2017, the title "The Family I Had" was released about the case and focused of that. In 2019, Paris Bennett made headlines when he gave an interview broadcast to Piers Morgan. In 2021, Charity stated that she had ceased all communication with Paris after learning he was involved with a woman who was on bond 2 hours away from where she lived for planning a mass shooting. She stated, "I finally accepted it is okay to love him as my son, but really dislike the man he has become." In 2026, Investigation Discovery aired the episode "The Child I Thought I Knew" on their series Evil Lives Here, My Child the Killer. So she ceased all communication now, and that was back in 2021 because he was involved with a woman who was on bond 2 hours away from where she lived for planning a mass shooting. I kind of want to, because you don't know, that lady's crazy. You don't know if he's going to send her that way or not. So, she planned a mass shooting. I mean, what else could she be doing? So the judge had, let's see. This is just a sad situation. He was mad at his mom and took it out on his sister. I mean, and she was only 4, so, and it shows them doing, like, videos, like, younger, when they were younger and stuff, and he, was playing with her, hanging out with her, just being a big brother to her. And I guess maybe she wasn't giving him all the attention. I mean, he was 13 at the time. That's kind of a pretty decent age group, age gap. Maybe, she got more attention than he did. It's really hard to see what was going through his head. The babysitter, after the babysitter left, this left the 2 children home alone. The police discovered that Paris had already prepared his next move. He wanted to stay home alone without any adults. Paris executed his plan actions after the babysitter departed. The show Evil Lives Here, My Child the Killer describes this moment as the part of the events that night. The request from a teenager who showed normal behavior at the time of results, and a disaster that follows through the request. Charity Lee showed her trust in her son when she allowed him to watch their sister. So after the babysitter left, he went into her room and he attacked her. He first used his physical force. He tried to strangle her, then he stabbed her 17 times with a kitchen knife. The assault also included sexual harm. Ella Bennett was sound asleep when the attack began, and could not defend herself. The crime happened quickly, but was described as slow and controlled by investigators. Paris later admitted these details during questioning. Harrison later admitted these details during the questioning. The episode of Evil Lives Here, My Child the Killer includes the mother's account of learning about the full extent of the attack. It highlights how a young child who trusted her older brother faced unimaginable harm in her own bed. This is part of the case that remains the most difficult for the family to discuss as part of the New York Post. I couldn't even imagine that. Like, I don't even know how I would feel if I had, my son now, and he had a little sister, and I left them home alone, and I got a call that he killed his sister. I don't know how I would even be able to, because you would always love your child, but in any circumstance, but there's just sometimes you may have to just let go. I mean, that's even with any family member, to a point that there's sometimes you just have to let go regarding the situation. After the attack, he did not call right away. he pretended like he was doing the CPR, like we discussed before. Um, Now he admitted though the motive was to hurt his mother. The interrogation of Paris brought his confession about Ella's death to light. Um, he was angry with his mother, Charity Lee, over family issues, including her past struggles with drug use. He wanted to make her experience everlasting misery because he believed that taking her daughter would accomplish this goal. Paris told investigators he chose to kill Bella instead of his mother so that Charity would lose one child to death and to the other to prison. He said he felt a strong anger toward his mother and planned the crime to cause her the most pain. Now, this, honestly, I know we don't judge or anything like that, but it honestly sounds like he planned this. Maybe he was, you know, in a lot of pain because his mom was in drugs and he wanted her attention, which, was understandable. I don't know if that's what turned him. He just, you know, her doing the drug use and him with his sister because he's 13 and he had to, maybe he had to take care of her more responsibility with her than he wanted to do. I don't know. I'm not saying that's what it was, but it's really hard to say because we don't know the whole situation with that. And there's three sides to the story: his, hers, and the truth. And we will never know the whole situation. We just know whether we are told. Um, but any parent, any child that a parent does drugs, that's, they want them to be a parent. They want them to be there. They want to, maybe that's how this whole situation, maybe he was fine when he was younger, all the way up, because you figure she was 4, he was 13, so he was what, 11, 12 years old, or not 11, 12. He was probably like, he was younger then, 9, 10 years old, whatever, and he wanted his mom to be there with him, and it just didn't happen that way. It's hard to say though. Maybe it was, she just did drugs. Maybe it was just something she fell into. Um, he told her he chose to kill her because that would cause her the most pain. Charity Lee discusses the confession that altered her view of her son in this episode, Evil Lives Here, My Child a Killer. She described normal arguments between them, but never expected such a decision, according to the New York Post. And it's hard to say, maybe he just didn't know how to show his, tell his mom or explain to her or show his feelings toward her. But he also had a high IQ of 141. Um, his mental health experts conducted an evaluation following his arrest, and they showed that it was extremely high intelligence of an IQ of 141 and significant psychopathic characteristics. He showed minimum regret for his actions. So he really meant what he did. Maybe he thought that was the only way to get his mom's attention, and it did. The court heard that Paris had signs of conduct disorder. The case remained in juvenile court because he was only 13. So given he was probably like 9 when his sister was born and stuff, and maybe that puts some more responsibility. Like I said, it's hard to tell when his mom started doing drugs. It might have been like an off and on thing, and I don't know. The juvenile court, the court had heard Paris had signs of conduct disorder, so he pleaded guilty to capital murder. He received a 40-year sentence, which represented the maximum allowed for juvenile in Texas during that period. He began his sentence at juvenile facility, then transferred to an adult prison after he turned 19. He became eligible for parole, serving half that sentence. The show discusses how his outcome affected the family and what it means for the future. Charity Lee has described the emotional struggle she faces between her love for her son and her decision to accept his actions. It always says stay tuned for more news and updates because it's coming up here pretty soon that he's going to be getting, he's got his parole date, but if he doesn't get out then, he'll get out when he's 53. We did get in contact with Paris, and he declined to interview. which is okay because honestly, we kind of understand because it's coming close to his parole date. He doesn't want to, you know, screw that up or, make it so that he doesn't get out or, it's hard to say. And we respect that because, there's some people that want to go on our podcast, but their cases are still pending and we will not do it for the simple fact that we don't know how that's going to affect their court case or how it'll affect their sentencing. And it would be really hard on us if we interviewed somebody and they got an extra 30 years because of our podcast, and we don't want that to happen. We want to wait for everything to be done and over with because they might slip up and say something accidental on here that they probably shouldn't have said, or something that the jury doesn't want to hear. Or it's hard to say, but we don't like doing that until everything's case closed and that your 30-day appeal has already been done before we'll even attempt it. I mean, we can get your stuff ready and your transcripts ready and everything like that, but we will not even do it until everything's situated and closed case. Because we don't want to botch anybody's. We don't want to do anything to anybody's. You know, for them getting out of prison or their court case being dismissed or anything like that. We don't want to ruin any of that. Uh, there's all kinds of. If you just, I mean, we watched a lot of the stuff uh on him. Um, and if you just watch him, you could it's hard to say. Like it shows him when he's younger. Right now, he's got his head shaved and stuff like that. But um, when Paris was 7, Charity got married, but unfortunately, Charity got married, but unfortunately, she and her then partner later parted ways not long after. At the time, she was pregnant with her second child on April 12th, 2002. She gave birth to a daughter, Ella Bennett. According to the mother of two, she relapsed around 2006. So it was pretty close to around the time like a year. Yeah, because, wow, 2006, so that was like a year later. Creating distance between her and Paris. Everything changed when Paris killed his sister on February 4th, 2007. So it was about a year she relapsed. So he was probably enjoying the time he had with his mom and everything, as it shows him and his mom in a picture here. When he must have been 13, 14 years old. Um, because it says Charity Lee faced several turmoils since her childhood. When she was just 6 years old, her mother, Kayla Claire Bennett, was reportedly charged with the murder of Charity's father. Uh, James Robert Bennett Jr. According to reports, Kyla eventually walked free and was acquitted of her charges, driven by grief and seeking attention of her mother. Charity immediately became addicted to drugs as a teenager, and around that time she learned she was expecting her first child, which paved the path for her to become sober. Ultimately, around 1994, Charity welcomed her son Paris Lee Bennett into the world as a single mother. So, I mean, yeah. So she, that's, yeah. Um, let me see. According to the mother of two, she relapsed in 2006, creating a distance between her and Paris, and everything changed when Paris killed his sister on February 4th, 2007. Since that horrific day, Charity still remembers the moment she lost both her children, recalling the time she first saw Ella's remains. She shared there was nothing I could do except just sit there and just fall apart and lose everything. Charity also, she continued, no money prepares you for when it's two people you love the most in the world and one kills the other, what do you do then? And that's a good question, and we were just talking about that. What do you do? Um, Despite the heartbreaking loss, Charity stayed in contact with Paris, and he has written several letters to his mother. Ultimately, in June 2021, she shared, "I completely walked away from my eldest child, and I have not looked back. It is one thing to be a child who makes a horrible decision. It's another altogether to be a 27-year-old man and making decisions that put your family at risk." Paris will reportedly become eligible for parole in 2027. As of 2026, Charity has decided to focus on her current life and plans to turn her attention to the legal proceedings. Um, Charity Lee found purpose in advocacy, education, and storytelling. So Charity Lee completed her bachelor degree in science and human ecology, child and family development, and psychology at the University of Tennessee in 1997. By 2007, she had already begun her career as working at Buffalo Wild Wings near Albany. However, following the profound loss of her daughter, Charity stepped into the world of criminal justice, trauma, mental health, and victim advocacy. She has also become a juvenile justice advocate and activist by working with several groups. It's helped her connect with families who face the same situation as her. Around the time Ella passed away, Charity began exploring the idea of creating a nonprofit organization in Texas to prevent and advocate for human rights through criminal justice reforms, victim advocacy, and education. She says, "I'm in deep and book 2 mode, so my return to social media has been anticlimactic. Hardly ever post, but here is a slice of life in the Lee household recently. Observing I have way too many cats, trying to teach kids the correct use of words and explain things we don't do to one another. Me writing and me loving a cat even though there are way too many. Hoping everyone stays sane." And this was about 5 months ago. Ultimately, on April 12, 2011, Charity found the Ella Foundation, focused on her vision. Eventually, she decided to explore creative spirit and share her story with the world. Consequently, the co-authored the memoir, "How Now Butterfly," a memoir in murder, survival, and transformation, which is published in January 2020. In the book, Charity spoke about the conversation she had with Paris during the visits to the prison, how she lost her children. She desired to open community centers named Ella's Place through the foundation. Sadly, her dreams faced a setback in January 2021 when the organization went on temporary break COVID-19. By June of the same year, Charity revealed that she officially shut down the Ella Foundation. So, she wrote a memoir, "How Now Butterfly." I'm going to get a copy of that and read that. That's going to be very interesting, and I'll have to let you guys know when I get it and how it is. Definitely want to read that. Let's see. I don't know how that came up. By 2023, Charity has been helping out a small private school. In October 2025, she shared that she had achieved a cruel milestone in her life. So she's getting herself back together. Welcoming her youngest child, her youngest son, marked a chapter of healing for her. After February 2007, Charity worked with several organizations and supporting several juveniles who have been incarcerated since 2025. She revealed that her adopted prison children continued to keep in contact with her in her personal life. Charity always had a relationship with her mother and Kyla since the 52-year-old believed that her mother was responsible for her father's death. Over time, the relationship began to mend, and that moved on to the country to be closer to Carla since she was battling stage 4 cancer. Unfortunately, her mother passed away in 2023 of June. However, it appears that Charity's connection with her mother again started deteriorating towards the end. As she stated, this is a good thing that she reverted to her old ways. No need to say sorry or offer sympathy. Charity's life was lit up with joy again when she welcomed her youngest son, Phoenix Lee, into the world in 2012. So 5 years after all this happened, she, that was probably a good thing to keep her mind occupied. By October 2025, she celebrated her son's 12th birthday with great excitement. She's always taken the opportunity to keep Phoenix safe, since he needs to undergo biannual heart examinations from celebrating Halloween, with him taking him to the aquarium. Charity loves making lifelong memories with him. During the pandemic, the mother-son duo spent their time caring for foster puppies and kittens. As of writing, a big part of her life revolves around her adorable kittens. It's essential to note that Charity announced in October 2025 that Phoenix has asked her not to share further information about his life. She also decided to shield more details about her personal life from the public eye, which I understand. I get what her son's saying too, because he doesn't want his picture, probably. He doesn't want to be a part of the social media, because when his brother does get out, you don't know if he's going to come looking for him. You don't know what his brother's thinking. He might even have even more anger toward his mom because she stopped talking to him because of the situation of what he had done, and the situation of him talking to somebody on the outside that's, out on a bond that is not too far from her, that had, did the bomb thing. So she's probably scared. And you don't know if he's got anger toward her now that she cut all ties with him, and then he, his brother's getting all the attention. It's really hard to say what the situation is on that. That is such a young age, though. 13 years old, but I mean, he must have had a lot of anger. He must have really thought about this. I mean, it wasn't just planned like overnight. He didn't just, he planned the whole babysitter thing for her to leave and everything. Like, he planned this out. He didn't just wake up that morning and say, you know what, this is what I'm going to do. This was really probably, they had to have been planned out. Not that we're judging, but it had to have been planned out. He's still in prison as of now, yes. And hopefully he doesn't get out for a long time. So, I mean, hopefully it's at least until 2047 when he gets out. I mean, but he shows absolutely no. I mean, if you look at his eyes, they're just dark. There's no color to his eyes. They're not brown. They're just dark. There's like no soul there. Because I was watching it. His full name is Paris Lee Bennett. His nickname is Paris. His gender is male. He was born October 10th, 1993. Paris's age is 32 years old. He was born in Albany, Texas. He's Caucasian, nationality American, zodiac sign Libra, sexual orientation straight, religion Christianity, marital status single. His mother's name is Charity Lee. His siblings are Ella Bennett and Phoenix Bennett. Paris is 5 feet 7 inches. Let's see. His release date is February 5th, 2047, if he doesn't get released in 2027, which I highly doubt, because if you really watch his, if you watch that, you'll see, I mean, he prepared himself for that, because it looked like he really rehearsed his lines, because if you just you have to watch the Piers Morgan, and you'll see, like, it's really interesting, very interesting just to watch. And his mom's listening, and she's just like in awe and a lot of stuff. Um, but it's probably good that she did what she did now. Now his mom though, she did have a lot of stuff back when she was younger, like as a teenager, like like it was said before in the notes here. As a teenager, she became involved in drugs like heroin and led her mother to kick her out. After months of depression, she decided to commit suicide by overdosing. Her decision changed when she discovered she was pregnant with her son, Paris. She became clean. After she had Paris, she moved in with a man named Jonathan and had a daughter named Bella with him. Ella Bennett, I'm sorry. Ella with him. And after her relationship with John failed, then Charity and her two kids moved back in with her mother, with whom she still had a toxic relationship. Paris spent his days listening to his mother and grandmother fighting. When Paris was about 11, his mother relapsed on cocaine and could not effectively care for her children, and that's when it affected him. And he started showing violent behaviors. So, he might have been good all the way up until then, and then she relapsed. And maybe that just made him angry. Maybe he was, it's really hard to say. Maybe that's what set him off. Maybe he had, I don't know. As an 11-year-old, Paris once threatened his family with a kitchen knife. Out of worry for his mental well-being, his mother, Charity, sent him to Red River Hospital, a psychiatric facility. However, she claimed that doctors were not effectively communicating with her, so as to the condition of her son, and she had him discharged. To get a fresh start, Charity moved to Albany with her kids. Paris had an unusual high IQ of 141, and he had also been diagnosed with several psychiatric disorders, including intermittent explosive disorder, ADHD, and bipolar disorder. Speaking on the family I had, Paris denied any psychotic disorder and stating that there was no predisposition to the crime he committed. The babysitter's account on this, and speaking on the incident, the babysitter who was a Hardin University student, revealed that she had taken the two kids out for Chinese food, and upon their return, Paris went to his room to finish his homework, while his sister Ella went to sleep. Around 10 p.m., Paris convinced the babysitter to go home, claiming that he was old enough to take care of himself and his sisters. I don't know why it said sisters. After the babysitter had left, Paris went into his sister's room, and that's when he had killed her. It also shows that the little girl tried to fight back. So he is currently serving his jail term. He was sentenced to 40 years in prison, and Paris is set to release in 2047. If he is never granted parole, he spends his days in prison reading books. Guess he enjoys reading books. But he likes the crime books, the true crime books, and he likes the crime stuff in prison too. He reads a lot of that. So are there any questions on here? I know you guys probably have some. So there is hard to do without my partner here. Okay, so I'm going to order that book. Now, Piers Morgan,
It's bad enough that John Huston voted to kick Ohioans off their health insurance. But it's worse that he did it to give tax cuts to billions.
Okay. He's already served 18 years of his 40-year sentence. Wow. So, according to long-term contact, he began reading while he was still in 7th grade before being sentenced to 40 years in prison. His intelligence and curiosity led him to tackle complex works such as Infinite Jest, which he read multiple times. Apparently he really likes that book. That has to do with an addiction, depression, entertainment, and human connection in near future North America. It's a central plot device is lethal cartridge of film entitled Mndz, which is so purely entertaining that viewers lose all will to live and stare at it until they die. That's interesting. Infinite Jest. It's a 1996 novel by American writer David Foster Wallace. Often considered a Wallace magnum opus, the book has been categorized as an encyclopedic novel due to its unconventional narrative structure and hundreds of extensive endnotes with some footnotes of their own. It's a bestseller, 44,000 hardcover copies in its first year. It's not really saying. The book was edited by Michael, let's see, made it suggestion Wallace. The novel gets its name from Hamlet. The setting of it is in the novel's a future world. The United States, Canada, Mexico together compose a unified North American superstate known as the Organization of North American Nations. Corporations are allowed the opportunity to bid for and purchase naming rights for each calendar year, replacing traditional numerical designations. Wow. Although the narrative is fragmented and spans several name years, the year of the let's see what the plot is. That's students training and studying at the Enfield Tennis Academy, founded by James. This is very... He's a variacious reader while incarcerated. He read them multiple times. He also corresponded with journalists and others discussing literature and his own thoughts, deep engagement while reading and writing while in prison. YouTube has a lot of it too. If you inside the prison life of Paris Bennett, if you watch it, yes, there was some people that actually, yeah, you watch a documentary, The Family I Had, and it absolutely, it's a tragic case, and if you go into a lot of research on it, the case was actually worse than was shown in the documentary. He's not, I don't know if he's a changed person or not, but he claims he's changed, but I don't really. If you watch the interviews with him and his documentaries, I mean, I don't know if there's any rehabilitating him. Yes, he did. He left out the fact that he did rape his sister. Yes, the case is fascinating, and it's kind of scary at the same time too. And it's hard. It's hard to know. I mean, it's hard to think of what was actually going through his mind and what point in his life made him actually do this. It's really hard to tell. And that was written by David Foster Wallace. That's just, it's crazy. There's just so much to this case. We'll have to keep you guys updated on it. We are still in 10 days. Tina Monroe, which is James Michael Monroe at one point, goes for her case, her trial to get out. She is up for parole August 19th. Our podcast is going to be in the court trial. The judges, he says the judges are going to be listening to our podcast. Now, he also explained that, you know, her lawyer discussed that, you know, Tina Monroe has done many, many, many podcasts, many, many, many interviews, but the lawyer chose ours because the lawyer felt ours was the best one. And I'm not saying we have like the best podcast, but that's pretty cool that they chose ours out of all the ones that Tina has done. Tina has done a few, and we've listened to quite a few of them, of the podcast. And they don't do their podcast like we do, which everybody does their podcast different, and that's good because you don't want nobody to do like the same podcast. But we do ours way different than a lot of people do them. So it's, yeah, we're gonna have to just wait. We're gonna keep you. What is this? Some of these books that, including results of Paris Bennett Red Crime. Okay. Okay, Paris Bennett. Let's try to. Oh, wrong one. Okay. Yeah. Let's see if we can. God, it would be really cool if he wrote a book. You know, if he wrote a book on, you know, why he did it or anything like that. So his, of course, he's in a correspondence with a journalist, and let's see, he discussed books sometimes with humor and self-awareness, and the fact that he often included drawings alongside his letters. It's gonna be interesting to get that book from his mom. Let's see here. There's called A Letter from Paris. Yeah, this is definitely. But we'll keep you updated on him. Our next one is going to be. Let me see here. Today is the 9th. The next one is going to be on the 23rd. And we are going to do TJ Lane. We have wrote him, and we're just waiting for a response back. We haven't heard anything yet. So August 23rd. We will do 8 o'clock again, but if I change it, I'll put it on the Facebook page like I did today. And we'll be doing TJ Lane, which is, he was a kid who did school shooting. I don't know if you guys remember him. But we did try to contact him, and we're just waiting. He did the Chardon High School shooting back in 2012. So that'll be our next one. So if you guys, have any questions about that, get that ready, and we'll discuss that. But other than that, we'll keep you updated on everything. We'll also keep you updated on Krista Pike. She's trying to fight her execution date, which is September 30th of this year. She may end up getting the electric chair, so we're still waiting on her to, go to court on that and figure all that out. And she'd be very, very, very lucky if she escaped the death penalty, but we'll see. We'll keep you guys updated on that too. So we'll see you guys on the 23rd at 8, unless I change it.